Yo, what up? What's good? Am I late? I mean, it's all a matter of perspective if I'm late. You know, it's it works like this. Like, see, if you think about whether starting on time is in proportion to how late Forte is with everything, then I'm actually early. But unusual SloMoBackSlap time. Yes, I am late. So I apologize. What's up, y'all? What's up, Smitty, T. Harris, Meds in the chat. Said you lied to me. My bad, man. My bad. FTW, what's good? Oh, Die out here, late as always. I'm not always late, man. You can't charge that to me. Sierra's podcast will go live when Wolverine releases. Hey, it ain't gonna take 3 years, man. No, this actually wasn't PC issues this time. This was just me trying to do a whole bunch of stuff all at once and everything happening all at once. So my bad. I apologize. Forte always late, just like when I host DPS, which is like, you's a liar. Forte be lying, man. Lying, Forte. You know, just his forte is to not tell the truth. That's what his forte is. So, Ice Queen, what's going on? So, look, yo, we gonna get into these leaks, and I'm gonna set some ground rules real quick because there's a lot here. There's like 1.7 million individual files that were leaked, which is like, and that sounds like it's probably Insomniac's entire database got hacked. Which, by the way, hey, look, I work. And I'm a network engineer. Sony, if you need me to, look, I can design you a network that's foolproof, okay? I can design you a network that, well, nothing's foolproof. Everything can be hacked. It just depends on how aggressive and how determined the hacking or hacker group is. But if you need help, I'm available for a fee. You know, you make it worth my while, I will hook you up. I'll make sure that you are at least not getting as hacked as often as you are right now. Cause good grief, it's bad. Like next year, we might as well run a pool on which Sony studio gets hacked next, cause that's how bad it is right now. Luca is on the way. Let me double check here if she. Oh wow. I got multiple people here. Hold on, let me move them over.
What is going on?
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up,
buddy?
Hey, we got both of you here. This is nice. I like this. Hey, how's it going, Di?
Doing well.
Why do you sound like that?
Why do I sound like what? I can't sound happy,
excited?
Chipper, excited. I can't be excited.
Yeah, you sound a little bit too enthused. You're at a 10. Take it down to a 2, buddy.
Nah,
to a 2.
10, man.
Yeah.
Why would I need to do that? So you just want me to just be dour
weird.
and
You just sound weird. You sound weird and fake. I don't like it.
How am I fake?
I was talking to you earlier and you were like, get off the phone, loser. That's basically what you said to me. Like, let me tell y'all what happened.
I did not say that.
Well, listen, I call SloMo.
Lies. I call SloMo. Why are we doing this?
I call
Why
this
are we
man.
doing this?
Just because I'm like, I miss my bestie boo. Let me go ahead and call him. And then he's all like, oh, what's up?
Don't that sound fake?
Hey. And then
don't that sound fake?
And then he's all like, sorry, I got to get off because I'm on the phone with Nautical. Mind you, whenever I'm on the phone with Nautical or I'm on the phone with SloMo and one or the other calls me, I just merge the calls. Like, I'm not fake. And I'm not like,
wow.
oh, let me get off the phone so I could talk to them. I merge the calls. So then I'm like, why don't you just merge the calls? He's like, why don't you just merge the calls? And I'm just like, okay, what? Like, he just says it in this mocking tone. And then, like, we get on the phone with Nautical, and he's like, well, what if Nautical didn't want to talk to you? I'm like, that's just not ever going to happen. Like, that's just never going to be the case.
Why are we discussing this live?
Because you came in here with this fake chipper attitude. Tone it down.
It's not chip. It's not fake. It's not chipper.
You never like talking to me. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. like, what are we doing here?
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, back on topic. yeah, Insomniac keep getting hacked, and I wanted to lay some ground rules. I want to discuss portions of this hack that are video game related to things that we will eventually get a chance to play or see. You know, hopefully they don't get canceled like some other stuff, factions too. But, you know, things that we will be seeing in the future, but we definitely won't be discussing like any kind of personal information. Like, you know, let's be for real. Like, y'all know how I roll. None of that information you'll see or be discussed by me. And also, we're not going to actually show any of it because you can talk about it. When you get in trouble with companies like this is when you start showing, like, because like this is literally a lot here. We're talking gameplay footage of Wolverine. We're talking internal documentation that's confidential of their roadmap, of their game planning, sales of their games, their forecasting of sales for the future. We're going to get into a lot of that stuff, but we're not going to show it. So if you want to see it, I'm not going to tell you where to find it. It is out there to find if you want to find it. So
and/or
fair warning on that. We say, bro?
Huh?
You said something?
Yeah, I said and/or play it.
What do you mean play it?
Oh, there's a build out that you could play. You just need a PS5. You just need a dev kit.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is true. Yeah, there was. Yeah, because if you get your hands on the leaked data, you can download the executable that is and there's and right pixel in the chat. There is a PC build out already as well. There's a PC build for Wolverine as well. So it can be played if you have a PS5 dev kit. But let's get into these leaks point by point. So what I wanted to kind of discuss first is the roadmap, because I think there's been a lot of people that have been talking about the roadmap and also discussing how they feel about, and shout out to Eric Jackson. Eric has been very vocal in discussing how he feels about what he appears to be a loss of identity from Insomniac. Now, we know them from like Ratchet and Clank, Sunset Overdrive. They've made Resistance in the past, and it seems after Spider-Man came out in 2018, they have become essentially like a Marvel factory here, because the roadmap is showing that there is a Venom standalone game, probably, and from what we've seen in the leaks, the same scope of Miles Morales that's coming out in 2025. And then there is a Wolverine game coming out. We already knew about the Wolverine game. That is slated internally for 2026. And what's up, Forte? And we have a Spider-Man 3 game that's supposed to come out in 2028. And there's some other information about that and how they are delivering that seems to be pretty interesting information that we might want to discuss. They're finally going to do another Ratchet and Clank game in 2029. And I think we can also discuss why it's going to take them 6 years to finally drop that based upon how the performance of Rift Apart did. And then the big thing is that they are doing X-Men. And that's supposed to come out in 2030. So that's like 7 years from now. So like it's not happening anytime soon. But I am a massive X-Men fan. Like for me, like that's the first comic I read, and I love X-Men. So that's really big. So first things first, I'll start with you, Luca. What are your thoughts on this roadmap?
Well, I think the roadmap that is looks great. Personally, I am excited for it. So it's Venom, a little Venom standalone in 2025, Wolverine in 2026, Spider-Man 3, aka Miles Morales Simulator in 2028, Ratchet and Clank in 2029, X-Men in 2030, and then I believe they have another roadmap that is further along. Yes. It's kind of the same. What I didn't talk about is that they did say they're going to do a new IP in 2023,
2031 and between 2031 and 2032.
Yeah, so they have that going on, then another two more X-Men games.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly speaking, it I think when it comes to Insomniac, they found something that they're very good at and that people really, really enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they are now the company that is the Marvel IP. They're the Marvel IP company, all right?
How do you feel about that? Do you feel? Are you happy about that? Or you feel like they're losing their identity? What do you think?
I don't have any feelings about it because I'm not a Insomniac Studio fan. Like, I
Okay.
wasn't playing their games before Spider-Man, so it doesn't bother me, but I can see why it would bother other people. But at the same time, like, if they're coming out with 2 new IP in the 2030s, if we all make it there, then I don't necessarily see an issue with that because it's not like they've completely given up on their own games, right? So, I mean, depending on whatever the games are. So they're going to do another Ratchet & Clank eventually. I can understand why they are taking so long to do a Ratchet & Clank if that data is to be believed. The other one didn't necessarily hit their sales projections. So I can understand
it actually lost some money.
Yeah. I can definitely understand why they're waiting on that. But if they're doing like 2 new IP eventually, along with all the Marvel stuff, I don't really see an issue with that. I think that, again, they found their niche. They're very, very good, at least at creating Spider-Man. We'll have to see how this Wolverine game does. Other than like one thing, I thought the leaked gameplay looked good. I'm not like a complete and total brainlet like some people in this community seem to be, where it's like they see like pre-alpha gameplay and they're automatically like, it looks awful when the game doesn't even come out until 2026. Turn your brains on. Turn it on. It's the same thing when GTA got leaked and everyone was like, wow, this doesn't look that good. It's like, yeah, the game doesn't come out for several more years. Of course it doesn't look finished because it was leaked. Turn it on, man. Turn your brain on. All right. It's like these people don't seem to realize that there's like games don't go from concept art to complete. Okay. There's steps in between them. Steps in between. They actually have to build the game, right? Which means that when they're building the game, the building blocks are there, which means it's not going to automatically look finished when you're working on it. Obviously, I feel like people in this community are so stupid. Like, I just like no brain in sight. Anyway, it looks good. From the little that we've seen of it.
But don't hold back. Don't hold back, please. Tell us how you feel.
I mean, like, it looks good from the little we've seen of it. I have faith in Insomniac. Again, the only thing I was kind of side-eyeing, I was like, from my limited knowledge, because I never read any Marvel comics except for like Deadpool, right? So for my limited knowledge of the Marvel comics, I'm over scratching my head. I'm like, since when does Wolverine scale buildings? Is that like a thing he does? I've never seen him do that. In the cartoons or in any of his movies, any of his various movies, right? So I'm just like, all right, I don't know about that aspect of it, but everything. Oh, and then like the smelling and the sniffing. I don't know about that either. But
that's him.
I get it. I get it, but I don't know if I like how it looks like the initial execution. I'm sure they will clean it up and tighten it up as time goes on. So that's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is unfinished stuff. The gameplay for me, I did see some of the stuff where it's clearly like they were trying to set the rigging correctly and stuff like that. Like that's don't take that seriously. That's them still working on the game as they are. Even in the footage, you can tell they started to add like textures and a little bit more detail. There's some footage out there where it's like he's not in the forest. Maybe he is a forest. I couldn't remember exactly, but there's that, and there's another part where he's fighting like a bunch of guys in a room, and then he tackles them out into a courtyard and does more fighting out there. That looked good, like the brutality of it. I do feel, and I see Pixel in the chat said something about animation speed because he knows about that. Like I feel like Wolverine should move faster. He should be more agile and more like up tempo and but that's something that can be tweaked. Like the game's 3 years out. Like I'm not judging what I saw as like the final product, but there are things of it that I constructively I would like to see somewhat differently. But I like what was there, and I like what we've seen so far. They also have leaked the casting of the Wolverine cast, but you can get into that later. Deli, what were your thoughts on just the roadmap and what Luca was talking about with the Wolverine gameplay?
This is a nightmare. Like, as somebody who does this at an adjacent game studio, this stuff is this leak is crazy. This is such a wild, crazy leak. But everything looks good so far. I see that a lot of what they're asking for into this new year is like landscapes, fluid simulations, a dynamic GI similar to something like Alan Wake, healing factor, gore, and multiple damage states, a dynamic weather system, which I'm assuming will piggyback off of the wind system from God of War, better animations, better destruction improvements.
Deli, I have a question for you as a developer. If someone saw the gameplay and said, I thought there would be more dismemberment with, Wolverine, you know how you read a Wolverine comic or X-Men comics, and Wolverine is cutting arms, hands, heads off, legs, whatever. Like he's cutting people down. You see the brutality in his attacks, and you see the damage on the enemies, but they're not dismembered, or at least not to a degree that you may like. Is that something that we would see at this stage of development, or is that something that would be added later on?
That would be added way later on. So a lot of this stuff is, so if you guys are unfamiliar, obviously I'm a project manager at Bethesda. If you guys are unfamiliar,
you are?
Surprise, I am.
Dun dun dun.
So if anybody doesn't know,
tone it down.
At ZeniMax.
What? Leave me alone, Luca. Okay.
So that's my new job. And
oh my God, SloMo couldn't wait to let everybody know and hear that.
And
what are you talking about? I am just trying to host the show. Okay.
Man, the moment I heard that from SloMo, he told us that SloMo was like,
Forte, be quiet. Bro, Forte, stop. Can Deli speak?
A lot of the stuff that I'm seeing is stuff that I manage. Like a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing is stuff that I'm like directly influencing. And again, all of this stuff is to develop into a vertical slice, not a vertical slice, but into a representative slice in order to push two items, which are design representatives and art/audio representatives. And this is something that needs to come together in a demo, like a pitch deck demo, that will come out to investors and other people down the line, potentially consumers as well too. E3 is also another big thing. So in order to build up into this, a lot of the groundwork needs to be laid. So seeing this groundwork and seeing that, like, yes, these are the systems that we would like to introduce. So we have like the side content, we have like the traversal, we have the combat, the stealth, the senses, like the like even down to like how long it takes to play a mission, like an average of like 17 minutes or an average of like 30 or an average of like 6 minutes of cinematics or an average of like whether or not it's an open world or an instance world. Like this is something that needs to be showcased in order to continue the funding, in order to push the development into the right direction. And that's just all part of game development. When you turn in these milestones into like corporate, so that they can say like, yes, this is how we're moving along, this is what's going on, this is what the financial officers are able to approve, and little things like that. So being able to say like, yes, we want 40 missions in 15 hours, and then showing off like what a normal mission would look like and be like, yes, this times 40, right? they would be able to see that and go, okay, I understand that, and then give more money towards whatever it needs to be done, right? So a lot of this pitch deck stuff is like, hey, we would like a better animation system. So we need more engineers to create a better animation system, or we would like a better in-house fluid system. And they would be like, okay, cool. So they'd shop around and ask other people in the umbrella and be like, hey, what do you guys got going on? And kind of circle back and say, like, this is what we got for you, Insomniac. Or this is what we can do for you. And then that kind of helps push the direction. So everything that I saw here looks immaculate. It looks exactly like how something I'm working on looks like, comparable. It looks about at the same stage.
Really?
Just about. Like,
okay.
You also have to understand that what I'm working on is a little bit smaller. Just a little bit.
So not the 300 million budget that Wolverine has, but
not at all. But we do still have kind of the same amount of.
It's still a AAA budget. It's still a AAA budget. Yeah.
Yeah, we still have the same licensing, not the same licensing terms, but we still have quite a bit of stuff that is like I said, restrictions. We still have a lot of restrictions that are similar. So,
okay, since you brought up licensing terms, and let's like Forte, he's at work, so it makes sense he had to drop. Since you brought up licensing terms, there's X-Men licensing terms that have come out as well, and these terms were apparently signed as of July 2021. And it says platforms are PlayStation console. Of course, they don't say PlayStation 5 because, as we saw, some of the year terms for this deal goes all the way to like 2035. So clearly the PS5 is not going to be the PlayStation platform of that time. It could be PS6 and PS7 at that point. But PlayStation console and PC. That's not saying day and day on PC, but that the two platforms are where these games are set for licensing for. Commitments are, is this 621 million?
Yes.
Yes, comprised of
120 million in development commitment for each required title.
Yes.
And
30 million in marketing.
30 million for marketing alone. And then 9 million for recoupable advance for each title. Okay.
Then we got all games need to release by 2035. Sell all games through at least 2038. And later, if Marvel allows us to continue. And then there is the exclusive rules, which I thought, like initially, I think a lot of people were somewhat confused about. But then as you read it a couple of times, you kind of really get it. So it says between now and December 31st, 2035, Marvel cannot release or announce any X-Men, looks like we lost Luca too, X-Men games on console, PC, or streaming, or use an X-Men character as a competitive advantage in the game. And they have an example, play as Wolverine in Ultimate Alliance exclusively on Xbox. That can't happen from now until 2035. X-Men characters can appear in multi-family Marvel games. Example, the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Marvel retains rights to children's games and certain X-Men games from the 1990s, but they cannot release or announce these within 45 days before or after release or announce of any of our X-Men games. So to break it all down, what we're looking at is, remember when Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix made Marvel's Avengers, and that game came out, and no one else had Spider-Man but the PlayStation version of the game. That cannot happen. Okay, yeah, let me get her.
She's in the waiting room, yeah, but sorry to cut you off.
No problem. So the only thing that PlayStation was the only platform that had Spider-Man for Marvel's Avengers. They have made it so that, like, yes, X-Men can appear on other platforms if it's a multi-plat. So, like, let's say Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 came out on the Switch. They could not do a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 4 on the Switch while having X-Men characters in there. it would have to be a multi-platform game on all platforms, and it could not be any exclusive characters to other platforms that aren't PlayStation. So there's that. They had the royalty splits between digital games, physical games, DLC, and what was very interesting for hardware bundles. So if the next Wolverine game is bundled, or the next Venom game is bundled in a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro, Marvel was getting between 35 to 50% of the wholesale bundle price. That's massive.
Yes. So if you guys don't know, the PlayStation 4 costs like $412 to make. So whatever the bundle is, on top of that. So.
And that kind of gets into
that's like at least $200.
Right. And that also kind of gets into the termination aspect of it. So this licensing deal can be terminated if certain sales parameters aren't met. And this may also be why hardware bundles are so important to Disney as well as Sony, because it says neither party has a right to terminate the agreement for convenience. However, if we do not sell through at least 6 million units on PlayStation 5 and PC combined of one of the 3 major titles in the first year of its release after its PlayStation console release, either party may terminate the agreement. So if, say, Wolverine, I don't know if Wolverine is one of their 3 major titles. Let's say probably X-Men, Spider-Man 3, are those 2 definitely. And if I go back to the roadmap, maybe Wolverine. Okay, Wolverine, Spider-Man 3, and X-Men will probably be the 3 that they're talking about. If one of those 3 doesn't reach 6 million within a year, then the licensing agreement can be terminated. But I think that's very unlikely considering how they market those games. They're going to do hardware bundles, get your PlayStation and the game. I don't really see that as a issue. Luca, did you hear all of that? What are your thoughts about the whole licensing stuff with X-Men?
Yeah, I mean, again, it makes sense. It sounds like a good deal on PlayStation's end, at least, because where else are you going to be able to play these games as the X-Men? And they're not as popular as they once were, mostly because they've, when was the last X-Men film? Like 10 years ago?
Days of Future Past?
Just a couple of years ago, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, yeah.
Oh, no, there was some after that. Yeah, with Jennifer Lawrence as like somehow becomes the main character or something with Mystique. It was bad.
Apocalypse, right?
Dark Phoenix came out in 2019.
Which that was a bomb.
Yeah, massive bomb.
Yeah, it is.
And then X-Men Apocalypse, which was also
2016. Yeah, so about 10 years ago.
Fox has done my X-Men wrong. That's all. They've done my X-Men very wrong.
People didn't like that Apocalypse very much. That was very up in the air. So it's not as popular as it once was, but there are plenty of people who are still fans of X-Men. So they'd pick up a game of that, especially if it's by a well-known and well-established studio like Insomniac. I think it's a good get for Sony at least, and I think it's a safe bet for Disney.
Yeah,
I mean, Marvel comes out on top. I mean, their shares are immaculate. That revenue split is kind of crazy. I mean, it's basically free. It's basically free money for them.
Now, also, so I wanted to kind of discuss the sales projections and just the sales in general. So they had a chart that showed a total of 6 games, one of them being an original IP from Insomniac, and the other 5 games being the Marvel games. They had sales from Miles Morales. Apparently, Miles Morales had like the biggest amount of profit so far. With it still cost like a AAA game did, but it made way more in revenue and sold a total like 10.2 million units, and they made a ton of money off of that, which is no surprise. They're doing a Venom game along the same level, the same format. Miles Morales. So we see here it only cost them $39 million to do a remaster of Spider-Man 2018. So no shocker that they're doing so many remasters, because apparently they could be done a lot cheaper than the actual like building of the game originally. But Ratchet and Clank cost them $81 million, and they only made $73 million, and that's with Ratchet and Clank on PlayStation 5 exclusively and on PC. And so it lost $8 million. It kind of like that doesn't surprise me that they're not doing the Ratchet and Clank into 2029, because the game's not selling. Like, it only sold 2.2 million lifetime units. And so if the game's not selling, we know how PlayStation rolls, how Sony rolls. If it's not selling, we're not going to make another of it, or we're going to shelve it for a while and then bring it back, which I think is very unfortunate, because I played Rift Apart. I thought Rift Apart was freaking awesome.
It's awesome.
Technical marvel. Beautiful, amazing game. And for some reason, people don't want to buy it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I ain't going to go as far as David Jaffe, who said like PlayStation gamers don't like anything that isn't dark and mature. But it's unfortunate the game didn't get more support, especially considering it's like, out of a full-on release, it's the cheapest thing on this list by far. It was way cheaper to make than the rest of these games, and still didn't sell. Now, that said, Spider-Man 2 cost $315 million and made $75 million in profit, because it generated $390. They anticipate that Spider-Man 3 is going to cost them $385 million to make, but they think their biggest amount of profit will come off of that alone. So, Di, what are your thoughts about their projections and what they've done, what Insomniac has done so far sales wise with this game?
Oh, these are fairly reasonable margins. I think this is stuff that they can easily hit. Obviously, they have easily hit, but yeah, I think these are very reasonable, and I think these are great, especially for a lot of these that are like 3-year development teams with like 300 or 200 people, a little bit over 200 people. I think that this stuff is awesome. I mean, you look at the stuff that Insomniac has been able to produce over the last couple of years, just for the PS5 alone, and it's like, it's obviously very evident that Insomniac has, I mean, they got it, you know, they got the secret sauce, they got the juice, baby. Like, they definitely have that talent, the manpower, and obviously the publisher backing to be able to push out this kind of content and fidelity with this amount of speed. And of course, the intellectual property licensing only helps them further, right? Because right now they're kind of the premier studio in the space. Like the only other studios are what? Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics. And I'm sure that they were close to hitting their goals, you know, and or probably did hit their goals set internally. So I'm sure that they're perfectly fine. I think these are fair goals. Yeah.
Okay. I want to switch gears real quick and talk about this Venom game, which is going to be the very next one that ends up coming out according to the roadmap. And I want to ask Luca, I'm going to kind of like state what their format is going to be for Venom, and see if that's something that appeals to you, Luca. This new Venom game is supposed to be an all new storyline that continues Spider-Man 2 and leads into Spider-Man 3. It's going to have playable, switchable Venom and other Spider heroes. They didn't name anyone specifically. If you play Spider-Man 2, then you already kind of saw where this is going. There's Carnage infected New York City boroughs, which if you finish the storyline about, like, what was it called? The Flame Cult or something? I can't remember the exact name of it. Then you kind of know that they were kind of leading towards Carnage at the end of once you complete that side quest. So it's going to be an 8 to 10 hour standalone experience. The Golden Path, which is, you know, your main missions, are going to be 12 main missions, 3 event bosses. And that's about it. What do you think about that, Luca?
I hope they expand a little bit more on the Carnage symbiotes, because that kind of got boring after a while. I mean, I did all of them, right? But like after a while, I was just like, all right, like it was just something to rush through. I'm very curious to know where they'll go with it. Curious, other spider heroes might be a good way for them to introduce other,
like Silk.
Yeah, like Silk. I don't know, but they might want to save that for like the main campaign too. So maybe it'll be different spider heroes, because there's a whole bunch. And they also had you doing those missions, collecting those little bots earlier, and the little explanations that went with that as well. So could be good. Again, if it's like a standalone like Miles Morales, I thought overall that was a good game. I didn't really like the story very much, but I thought it was a good game, and setting up Miles and giving him a little bit more to do and prepping him properly for Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. What I'm hoping is that, so like Miles Morales had kind of like some gameplay, not major enhancements, but slight gameplay enhancements from Spider-Man 2018 to Miles Morales, with Miles having more powers than Peter. That makes sense. But the flow and the transition and the kind of like the evolution of the combat was enjoyable to me. I think that's something, especially going from Spider-Man 2, that kind of streamlined some aspects of the combat. Like they did away with the weapon wheel, made it more about you hitting a bumper and then hitting, a button to kind of do use a tool or gadget or a power. And I felt that was way more seamless in combat, because you didn't have to slow down to go choose a different like gadget that you really didn't kind of need, because the combat's usually pretty easy. But I wonder how they plan on transitioning or evolving it further from with Venom from where they are right now. Dai, what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I'm cool with it. I think that the Venom set up into like the next era, I guess, not next era, but the next story. I think the stopgap situation works. We saw it with Miles Morales, and then it's targeting a similar size, feel, and length. So yeah, I would consider it like a pretty good safe bet. I would rather, words that I would use would be like a safe, inoffensive, pretty easy going, pretty easy to manage.
Okay, Luca, what do you think about that? I mean, you beat Spider-Man 2 as well, so like, would you, if there was no like major gameplay enhancements or even minor gameplay enhancements between Spider-Man 2 to Venom, let's say Venom is, you're playing as Venom, and of course you're gonna have your own like abilities or set abilities, but it's literally just kind of what you got from Peter with the symbiote, but just different, but nothing that like really advances the gameplay. How would you feel about that?
I don't have any reason to believe that they won't do something to advance the gameplay. So as it stands right now, I don't have any feelings about it, because the game's good. The game is good. But yeah, I can't imagine, just based on how Insomniac has steadily improved each title as it's been released, I can't imagine that they won't do something a little different to make improvements, little tweaks here and there, to make it more fluid, make it more fun to play. And it was already fun to play as Venom in the main campaign. So very curious to see where they go from there.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the hard part about like getting all these internal documents that aren't supposed to be seen, because this is the part of the process that is really, really hard to quantify to just consumers in general, right? Because people are going to be like, oh man, we want more stuff. And it's like, yeah, but we have to hit our milestones internally. We have to do things. We have to it's a business at the end of the day. And this is kind of the perils of AAA game development. Because once you lock yourself into this kind of stuff, you're like, man, as much as we want to make a gigantic game, like just saying, hey, give us money and we'll promise you a game down the street, it's just not enough, right? And with a lot of these deals, working with this much money, essentially, they're not gonna, like, companies and businesses aren't going to back down on release dates. So you have to deliver. And if hitting that release date or those milestones and those deadlines means that you're not going to upgrade the game as much as you want to, that's just going to have to be how it is. And there's nothing you can do or say about that. And it really sucks, obviously, because this is the kind of part of game development that I don't wish to share with consumers, because you'll just never, it's just never understanding, you know, like you'll never understand it. There's a balance between things, because at the end of the day, you know, as a consumer, you just want cool shit, you know, but once you cross that line, once you hop over the fence, it just becomes a totally different beast. Like seeing how much money you're playing with, seeing like the physical repercussions of like not hitting deadlines or not hitting milestones, the amount of stress that goes on inside these studios, it's definitely a different beast. And so when I see things, which is why I describe the game, or, you know, the next generation or the next iteration of things as like safe or inoffensive, it's because it kind of has to be to a certain degree. And that degree is probably like a 65-35 split, you know, like you can't do too much different that would take up too much time. And you never know how much
or turn people off. Right.
Yeah,
like you don't want to completely change it. You're right. Yeah. Because like if someone like they really absolutely love the gameplay in Spider-Man 2, and then you do Venom and you've changed so much of it that they don't find the enjoyment in it that they had before, that might affect how they feel about buying Spider-Man 3, which is supposed to come out like another 3 years after that. And that's kind of gets into, I mean, I agree with you guys. I don't think that they won't advance the gameplay, but getting into Spider-Man 3 and with the additional heroes, I kind of feel like, and this is all speculation, right? But I kind of feel like they introduced, they kind of alluded to Silk becoming a character. I think Silk will, depending on if they actually do DLC for Spider-Man 2, like the way they did DLC for Spider-Man 2018, where they had like, they released like these 3-hour, very focused DLCs for the Spider-Man 2018 that all together probably was like maybe the size of the Miles Morales game. I don't know if they, considering all that they're doing right now, if they even have the time to do that or not. I don't know, but if they don't, I think they have a lot to set up, because they said this storyline is going to be continuing Spider-Man 2's story and leading into Spider-Man 3. I feel like they have a lot to set up in just a 8 to 10 hour experience. So I just I'm wondering how they plan on balancing that, and which heroes they may introduce and which ones will be playable. Probably Peter and Miles, but who else, you know? So all that's pretty fascinating. Any more thoughts about that before we move on?
No, I'm good. I'm good to wrap this one up.
All right. Where is it? Any thoughts on the cast? Because they had the guy that's playing Logan Wolverine this is David McIntyre. Is that his name?
Yeah, the Weather Wizard.
The Weather Wizard
from the Flash, the TV show. He played the Weather Wizard.
He did?
Yes.
I didn't recognize. He looks familiar. Luca, is this the guy from Spartacus? The replacement for his David McIntyre. Liam McIntyre. Is that it?
Oh, Liam McIntyre?
Didn't he
Yes, he's in Spartacus, yeah.
Yeah,
so
he's
the replacement. He's a replacement for the original Spartacus guy that died of cancer.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. I think he's good. I think he's good. I think he's a good. Well, he's doing the mocap stuff too, because I saw a clip of everything.
He has the physicality, so.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, Di, what are your thoughts about him as cast as Wolverine?
Yeah, I think he sounds great. I think he sounds fine. Yeah.
What do you guys think about Troy Baker being Mr. Sinister?
Troy Baker is an excellent voice
Yeah,
actor.
he's good. I like him. I don't really have any qualms with the casting, to be honest with you. I kind of just kind of trust and believe, you know.
Plus,
I
you gotta
guess.
wait and see how they actually do in the roles.
Yeah,
You
that's
really
how I
pass
see it.
judgment on it. So
Yeah.
I think they nailed it with Troy Baker. He's very good at changing his voice and changing like his pitch and tone. And whatever character he does, and I could see him nailing Mr. Sinister because he's so like mysterious and creepy. That I think that would really work. They got Deborah Wilson set as Callisto. I think that was a good choice. Welcome back, Forte. And some of these other people are a little bit lesser known. The girl who's playing Jean Grey, I have no idea who that is. I know I'm bad at names, so I apologize ahead of time. Krizia Bajos, you know what? I tried. I never heard of her before. But I
ask Google how to pronounce it.
I probably should have did that. Anyway, we can move on. Like the cast is not that big a deal. Let's. I guess this is the other part that some people are kind of rubbing their hands about. Let's discuss these slides, these PowerPoint slides of PlayStation talking about the Call of Duty threat, the industry major shifts and threats. So there's this one slide that says industry shift, Call of Duty threat by 2027. Microsoft is only committed to putting Call of Duty on PlayStation through 2027. I believe this is likely was put together before they signed the deal to say they will put Call of Duty on PlayStation for longer than that. But it says Call of Duty can potentially shift players from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as the weapons. Force, we getting some feedback from you.
Oh, you are? Sorry.
All right, no problem. Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with exclusivity creates greater dominance. By 2027, this presents a significant threat to PS Plus with upwards of 1.5 billion. And there's like 45 million subs times $12 times 12 months times 20% MP. I don't know what that's about. But I found that a little interesting. Because it seems as if they think, and I'll go to the other slide that kind of talked about this, that Call of Duty being owned by Xbox can shift things in a way that they don't like. And where's this other one? They said the day and date threat post acquisition, Microsoft will put Activision games on Game Pass day and date. What do you guys' thoughts about this? About their apprehension with the acquisition? Deli, you can go first.
Fairly normal. I mean, I think anybody would, right? I think this is a topic we covered quite some time. It's a large acquisition. It covers basically every major gaming industry pillar, which would be like AAA, AA, and mobile as well. It's got the cloud service. It's tough. This is a huge, obviously a huge threat to PlayStation. So that's something that they do have to consider, being able to come up with a solution to kind of back that up, or respond. Because right now they're having to, or at least they're having to consider that their response is everything, right? They're no longer going to be, doing the whole Intel thing where they could just sit around and hang out, laugh, joke, and do small iterations from here and there. I think it's time that a reasonable amount of competition has to be considered.
Cool. Luca, what are your thoughts about it?
Makes perfect sense that they would be concerned. I think that it was pretty obvious that they would be concerned, considering Jim Ryan, all that extra stuff that Jim Ryan was doing leading up to the acquisition going through, just being like super candid. But I mean, he probably knew he was on his way out, like he was on his way to just leave anyway, so that's why he was also had no issue just being extremely extra in the media and crying foul about Microsoft. So they didn't want this to go through for a reason. So seeing them discuss it isn't that surprising to me. I definitely think that the Call of Duty get is a major one, especially since Call of Duty still sells a lot. It sells a lot. It makes a lot. And having that player engagement and those players purchasing microtransactions, and then Call of Duty Mobile in itself, which is like the mobile market is so huge, biggest market, right? I think that having Call of Duty on their side exclusively, quote unquote exclusively, for a period of time is going to be great for Microsoft in the long run. I think, again, I've been of the mind that Activision Blizzard was a great get for Microsoft overall when it comes to the Game Pass situation and the mobile situation. So it makes sense that they would be concerned about it. I think the people who don't see a problem with this, or were not don't see a problem, but who weren't concerned, who were saying like Sony shouldn't be worried, I think that they just I guess they underestimate the power of COD, which I don't think, regardless of however people feel about it on social media, and people can be like, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful, it's still going to sell significantly more than most IP.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Forsyth, what are your thoughts overall on that whole slide?
Man, listen, this is something that, I mean, look, I always try to tell people this. There's only a few games out there that move the needle so much where it can flip a generation. Call of Duty's one of them, and the other ones are sports. And the other ones are sports games.
Real quick, I think you have a very unique perspective on that, working as a GameStop manager, because you get to see that in real time with marketing and all that. So can you expound exactly on that aspect where now that the marketing, like this is the last year that PlayStation will ever have the marketing for Call of Duty. What's the level of that impact that's going to start next year when they drop Black Ops next year? And we start seeing, instead of PlayStation or PlayStation bundles and no more timed exclusive betas and all and extra boosters, as we always talk about when you and I play COD, how you got like all these boosters, and me and Taz over here just trying to hope we get one booster unlocked.
I get no boosters. I get 55 at launch.
Right. Kind of expound on the impact of that over not just next year, but a long time period.
So, I mean, it's easy. If you just go back to the last time that Xbox had the marketing deal, back in 2023, that was Call of Duty Ghosts, which was the last year.
I mean, you mean 2013?
No, 2013. Sorry, 2013.
Yeah, 2023 is this year.
2013, dyslexia kicked in again. But 2013 was the last year they had it. And yes, there wasn't a lot of consoles out there. I mean, PlayStation and Xbox were, PlayStation was leading by a couple million, but it was still kind of close back then. But PlayStation still didn't sell more copies of Call of Duty than Xbox did that year. But as soon as that marketing deal flipped that next year, with the combined forces of the fact that PlayStation started pulling away in sales, that 100% went in the opposite direction. All of the COD content creators, all of the events like the Call of Duty Championships and stuff like that, everything that marketed Call of Duty towards Xbox flipped to PlayStation, and that's when you saw the whole fan base flip too. Because once you get so many people over, then that's when friends and stuff kick in. Like, oh, my friends play Call of Duty and all this other stuff, and that's where I want to play at. That's going to probably be less of a thing probably going forward, due to the fact that you got cross-play and cross-platform synergies and stuff. So it's not going to be as drastic, I think, in the future. But the fact that you can see that marketing, and we know how very prevalent that marketing is to Sony, because they put clauses in their contract saying that you can't even showcase that this game is coming to other platforms, even if it is coming, like, AKA Destiny, AKA Call of Duty, all of the Call of Duty marketing, even though we knew it was cross-platform, you would never see an Xbox logo on any type of marketing from Call of Duty. And people still treat it that way because it looked like, oh, it must be a Call of Duty, it must be an Xbox exclusive. I also think the last thing when it comes to that is it's real interesting with those slides that they were talking about 2027. And I do agree with you. I do think a lot of that was written before Xbox basically extended the deal up to 10 years, which would put it at 2023 or 2033, 2034. But they also started stating how Game Pass starting next year with Call of Duty Ghosts could be the first opportunity for them to put it inside of Game Pass. And they talked about how that can significantly dwarf what they have going on in their live services, where you could put a game like that in Game Pass. And it also speaks to the fact that, you know, like Jim Ryan talked about how it's unsustainable, how developers don't like it. But once they own Call of Duty, Xbox, like we always said, they can lose money in perpetuity when it comes to something like that and not bat an eye at it and put it inside of Game Pass. And not only will it bolster their subscription numbers, because some people will absolutely flip over just to get it for cheaper. But I also think the closer we get to the next generation, that's when you're going to see a mindshare switch. It's not going to happen this generation. It's what's going to happen in 2026, 2027, especially when you see Microsoft and Xbox having leaks out here saying that they're going to have brand new consoles in 2026, 2027, if that's actually be believed. Even if the game's not exclusive to Xbox at that point because of the 10-year contract, that's when you can start seeing mindshare switch. And once Call of Duty decides to go next gen only, you're going to see even more people jump from like Xbox One and PlayStation 4 over to the newer systems and everything. And who's going to be the one at the forefront of the marketing when it comes to that? At that point, it's going to be Xbox, and that's going to be benefit to them over anything else.
Something that the last thing I kind of want to address with that slide is the bullet point about elusive perfect game subscription, and then the sub bullets from there. And I kind of wanted Di to break that down. So it says premium content, expectation of free best in class games creates an unsustainable model. Monthly and incremental subs won't cover investment. I think that's something that we've heard them say in the past as well. And then it also, for the second sub bullet point, unified mobile PC console experience doesn't exist. Form factor and computer power are too diverse. I think that is talking directly about what the Xbox model is. And then the last bullet point says Sony Impact premium sales model is the central approach. Now, Di, when you hear that or read that, like what does that say to you? Agent Deli, you there? I think we may have lost him.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Let's see, what is that? I don't know.
Can you even? I just like it just hit me.
If I can
it just hit
one.
me. It just hit me that like I can't ask you these kind of questions anymore. Okay, my bad. Luca, what do you think about that
stuff no more?
Right, Luca, what do you think about their idea of what the elusive perfect game subscription is?
I don't know anything about subscriptions, man. I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. I don't know how they work. I'm thinking about all the subscription services, even just for movies that have, like, take Tubi, for instance. I think, aren't they merging with somebody? One of the bigger
Tubi.
Subscription services.
The Tubi is?
Yeah.
Tubi with the horrible.
I know.
What? What?
I know.
Who's merging?
It's pretty bad, bro, but they are merging.
If Tubi can get a deal, I must start a movie TV subscription service today. I'm doing it today. I'm going to call it the Backslap. And it's just going to be me doing home videos, and I'm doing all the skits myself and all the bad editing and everything. Is Tubi's freaking awful.
But you got to remember though, SloMo, it may be awful, but there's a lot of people that are subscribed to that service though. It's not about how good it is. It's about how affordable it is and about how many people are actually a part of that service. Of course, it's not as big as something like Netflix or Paramount Plus or something like that. But even if you're bringing in 10% of what that audience is, it's still very attractive. And you can also get it at a lower entry point, and then you got a built-in service that you can kind of merge into your own.
Isn't Tubi free?
That's what I'm saying. It's free.
Is it free with ads?
It's free with ads.
Yeah, it's free with ads. It's free with ads. So just think about the fact that it's still got a lot of people that are subscribed with a free access, and you can just think about how the marketing works on that. You know, that's very lucrative, especially when you got a lot of people that are. You're basically saying if we got 3 million people that are subscribed to this with ads, that means those 3 million people are okay with watching ads on a case-by-case basis when it comes to watching their shows, versus if you go to other places where there are no ads, it's a harder sell. Plus, you're basically paying a premium subscription to not have those type of things. So it's a good way of like knowing what people are willing to do something versus people that aren't willing to do it.
And a lot of people say, I mean, you say this like Tubi is bad, but like if you go to their website, you watch movies like John Wick and other things like that. Like they're
really.
Yeah, like Friday's on there, and
okay, yeah,
Side and Hell's Kitchen.
I said that out of ignorance.
TV, and like, there's a lot of stuff on there that's like it might be older, but it's free. You know, with
older good movies, like that's fine. And if they get like stuff like John Wick 1 on there, that's awesome because John Wick 1's a great movie.
Yeah, I think they have all the way up to 3 on there.
Wow. See, I didn't know that. Maybe I gotta check Tubi out. Because look, my only experience with Tubi is me seeing these really terribly acted movies on that people are laughing at clips of it on like Twitter, and it's like it's like there's someone gets shot in the head. There's no blood. They fall like they definitely did just one take, and they fall so unnaturally, like they definitely try to make sure they ain't hurt themselves when they fell. It's just like, come on, who made this? You know, but like if that's the original content, all right, that's fine. We know that's content. Garbage.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is pretty good. That's fine. All right, but to get kind of back to this whole subscription thing, I think what that whole quote unquote elusive perfect game subscription portion of that slide is really just kind of telling to me is that Sony is still doubling down on what they believe is how you should do subscription services in console gaming in the future. And they don't agree with what Xbox is doing. They don't agree. They don't think it's sustainable. They don't think that it will earn enough revenue to cover the cost of doing AAA games. Now, not all of the Xbox games are going to be first-party games are going to be AAA games that go into the service, but the cadence by which they anticipate dropping those games is something that Sony thinks is not for a high level of quality, that you're not going to be able to do that. And we've seen Jim Ryan say that. We've seen Sean Layton, who has left Sony, say that. We've seen multiple people from that side of things speak on that, which makes sense in their mentality, that's how they feel. But I think the last thing we can probably talk about, and we're all do a little PC gaming here. You know, we got some actual like hard data on sales for PC, PlayStation first party games, and it's kind of shocking some of this data here. I mean, Sackboy, I know nobody care about Sackboy, but the only sell 63,000 units is a bit shocking to me. Miles Morales sold 450,000 units. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection sold 483,000 units. Marvel Spider-Man Remastered sold 1.3 million units. Days Gone sold 1.7 million. God of War sold 2.5 million. And the highest sold game, and I think I'm just going to say this is just because it was the first game, so it's been in the longest. But the highest sold PlayStation first party game on PC is Horizon Zero Dawn at 3.3 million. So, Forte, what are your thoughts about these PC sales? Do you think this is something that PlayStation is satisfied with?
I think they're satisfied with it right now, but this also kind of brings it to question how long are they willing to. I think that's why you also see the calendar getting shorter and shorter. I don't think we're still close to. I don't think we're like really close to day and date, but I think we're closer to being like a 6-month release window or even a 3-month release window, because when you look at some of those games, like God of War sold a crap ton on PC, so did Horizon Zero Dawn, but at a certain point, it's like, how much more would you have sold if you would have released those games closer to the release that they actually came out? Because a lot of people bought those, a lot of people went out and bought consoles already to play those games. And there's very few people that do what like me and you do, where we go and double dip and buy it again on PC after we already experienced it once. So I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to look at it like, okay, they're going to like do the math. They're going to release them closer. They're going to see if they can get that delta to be a little bit more higher on PC. I also think it just needs to just come out and just announce when they're coming out on PC. Like if they actually give a roadmap and say when games are coming, instead of it being like very not like ominous and stuff, they can actually probably get people to be like, okay, yeah, I'll wait for the PC version, even if it's like 6 months away, because they know when it's coming. Versus right now, it's like a guessing game. Like we know Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC. We don't know when it's coming to PC. We know that all of these games.
We know Wolverine's coming because there's a PC. There's a PC build of the Wolverine game in the leak. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the best thing they could do is when they do start announcing and talking about these games, don't be afraid to just tell people like, hey, we know they're coming to PC, but when is it coming? And if you do that, you might lose a little bit of the sales up front, but you'll save those PC sales on the back end, which will keep the game going. Or you might have people that are willing still to double dip. It's a really fine line that they're trying to toe when it comes to that, because going back to their promise where they say, the premium way that they're doing their games is like selling them as a box sale, whole in box or digital, not in subscriptions and stuff like that. They're trying to maintain that with the premium model, but the premium model is something that more and more people are kind of falling away from, not on drove or anything, but games are starting to cost way too much more money. And the more money that these games are costing, the more and more they're going to get closer to releasing those games across the platforms on both systems.
Gotcha.
In my opinion. But, the one thing that's really interesting, though, because I had to leave when you were doing it, those bundle sales.
Yeah.
Those bundle sales are real interesting. When I saw
how so? You mean you mean the percentage that Disney gets off of them? Yeah.
That is interesting, because remember when I was telling you when PlayStation 5 first came out and they were talking about the Spider-Man bundles and stuff, like that's what they were selling mostly at the launch. There was a reason. Now I see there's a reason why everybody was selling Spider-Man bundles at the time that they came out, because not only
they want to make sure they get their sales.
They want to make sure they get their sales, and they also want to make sure they hit that 6 million mark, because
that's important.
Think about it. This is the biggest thing about it. I think they have faith that Spider-Man is going to sell 6 million, but I bet they didn't have the faith that it was going to hit 6 million on a brand new platform when most of all the people were on the PS4. So they wanted to bolster those numbers, saying, "Yeah."
Wait. So you're saying that's why they made it cross-platform?
That's why they made it cross-platform, so they can make sure that it hit that 6 million, because they didn't know if it was going to hit 6 million just on PS5, just especially due to the fact that there wasn't a lot of systems available at that time too. So the safe bet was put it on multiple platforms. And I also think that's kind of what hurt Ratchet & Clank, because Ratchet & Clank would have sold more if it was on PS4 and PS5, but now it was only on PS5 and there wasn't enough PS5s out there to support it. And I just think over the course of a year to 2 years, enough people just let that game go by and it kind of just didn't pick up steam after it already released.
But I mean, that also makes sense why Spider-Man 2 is just on PS5.
Yep,
because
exactly.
they had enough of an install base at that point where they could they could comfortably feel like they could hit that 6 million within a year easily without potentially losing the entire, contract they have with Disney. And that's probably likely the case going forward. But good points. I think that makes a lot of sense. About these PC sales, I got a question for Luca. So Luca, Venom comes out 2025, and let's say it's not quite day and date, but they do what Forte mentioned, and they actually start to give release dates of when these PC games will be, when these first party games will be coming into PC. So let's say Venom comes out September of 2025, and the PC version is going to be January 2026. Do you wait for the PC version, or do you just get it on the PS5?
I would get it on the PS5.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
feel the same way.
have no reason to wait. I'm not like a PC gamer like that. I'll buy games on PC if the frame rate's better, but they've already shown that they can give you like a 60, so I have no reason to wait for any title, honestly speaking. Again, like I usually only wait or buy it on PC if I don't have any other option, But since I'm not someone who like buys a game so I can see how it performs on my rig and take screenshots to post on Twitter.
Oh man, who are you talking about?
Never play the game again. I'm not someone.
Who are you talking about? It sounds like you're talking about someone very specific. But
yeah, so for me, I actually, if I'm gonna play a game, I'll play it on whatever platform I have to play it on. There's a reason why I have almost everything. It's because I want to be able to play these games when they come out. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of gamer I am. I'm not like a PC gamer like that. So I have no issues. Waiting. If it's good enough, would I double dip? I don't know, probably not. Like I only typically double dip if I like genuinely really, really like adore something, right? And even though I like Spider-Man 2018 and I like Miles Morales and I like Spider-Man 2, I don't like those games enough to buy them again on PC.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Dai, same question to you. Would you wait for Venom coming out in January 2026, or would you get it on your PlayStation in September 2025?
I always get them where they're, I'm not gonna say quote unquote best played, but where they're best experienced.
No, that's fine. You can say that.
Quote unquote, yeah. And where they're best experienced, just so that I could do my part in supporting these, because I know it's only one game, but I mean, contributing to these sales, I get it. Will I double dip? Yeah, I don't mind double dipping at all. I'm, anything that I can do to do my fair part to make sure that I, basically, fill out the little survey and say like, yeah, I would like more of this. Yeah, especially considering that I know how hard it is to get that confirmation for a PC port. Even though it only takes one email confirmation in order to start development on the PC port and to get funding and support for that. Getting that email confirmation is a hard part. So yeah, wherever it comes out first, I definitely will support it on. So if it comes out on PlayStation first, then I buy it on PlayStation first. I think I've bought 3 copies of Spider-Man 2 now.
3? Why 3 copies?
I buy it for friends. I buy it for people.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I buy it for myself, Sometimes I'll buy it for, because I know I have friends at Insomniac, so I'll buy a copy, send it to them, get them to sign it, and then, keep that on the shelf. Just little things like that.
That's cool.
Anything I can do my part to help out, with the sales, especially if I genuinely believe it.
Yeah. I think and I wanted to, because what Luca had said earlier about waiting, I'm not about waiting. I'm not going to wait for a game that I want to play. But I think the bigger conversation is if they announce a PC port at the day that they announce the PlayStation port and say it's 3 or 6 months out, I think it's the people that don't have consoles to convince them to say they need to go get a PlayStation. Those are the people that this really is kind of guided towards. I think if you already have a PlayStation 5, you're not going to wait. You're just going to buy it on PlayStation 5 because you already have one. But I think it's going to be more for the people that, hey, I really don't want to buy a PlayStation 5. I will if I don't know when it's coming to PS5, coming to PC. So I'm not going to wait then. But if you tell me, oh, the game's coming out 3 months, I'm going to wait like, hey, do I really need to spend $500 or will I wait 3 months for the game to come out on PC? Because at least I know when it's coming. Right now, the biggest thing is you could be waiting years. And at that point, you might get you'll get your money's worth out of a PS5 for the most part if you have it 2-3 years before a game that really comes out that you want it. Especially if you play a lot of the first party games because you don't know when they're going to come over to PC. I just think that's the biggest thing that kind of is going to be affected by that. So if I didn't have a PS5 and they told me 6 months later Spider-Man was coming, Spider-Man 2 was coming like in the spring of 2024, it would suck, but I would wait because I wouldn't spend $500 on a console just to play that one game when I know it's coming over to PC and it's going to be a better overall experience on that platform in 6 months.
Yeah. I'm loath to say I loathe to say this because I don't want it to be like I'm not saying like there's a Sony executive listening to this and I say this, they go, yes, that's it, that's all we need to hear, push back the timelines, right? Like I don't think that's going to happen, but with the time frame and the hypothetical situation I came up with, Venom comes out September 2025 and the PC version they announced is going to come out January 2026. I'm likely not going to get the Venom on PC at launch. And you guys know I double dip. I get it on PlayStation. I play it through it. I sometimes the Spider-Man games I always platinum them. The other games I just beat through and have a great time with. And when they show up on PC a year later, 2 years later, I buy them again. But it's mostly because it's been a while since I played the game. And I kind of want to go back through it with a greater visual fidelity, better performance, more bells and whistles and all that good stuff. That little time period, I can't see myself wanting to jump back into Venom again on PC and spend more money on it again for whatever enhancements that it's going to have quite yet. Like if I want to go back and play it again a year later, and so let's say it's November 2026. At that, if I'm gonna play it again, I'll buy it on PC and play it again at that point. But at launch, I'm probably not double dipping at launch if the time period is that short. Because I'm not going to miss playing it day one. Because, I don't wait for games.
Okay,
but the double dip.
And that's what I want to ask you. Now, you're in a situation where you have a PlayStation already.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to play that game, we know how much you love Marvel, and you want to play Venom, and you don't have a PS5, and there's a 6 month to a year delay between PC and PlayStation, it's coming out on this day of this year, of that next year, are you going to buy a PlayStation just to play it a year early or 6 months?
Wait, hold on.
Probably not.
That's a ridiculous question. If you are a fan of Venom, that means you're a fan of Spider-Man, which means you would have already bought a PlayStation to play Spider-Man.
No. I'm talking about just this game. I'm talking about just in a vacuum this game.
There's no vacuum.
Even with Spider-Man. I'm talking about even with Spider-Man. I'm not talking about just Venom. I'm talking about
you just said just this game, so you're talking about Venom.
Venom's the one we're talking about. But okay, we'll go back.
I need
to
you to expand your question. If somebody loves Spider-Man, they would already have the console.
Spider-Man came out October 20th. If they would announce October 20th of 2025 that Spider-Man was coming out on PC and you didn't have a PS4 already, would you buy a PS5 and buy it for a year early exclusivity, or wait for it to come out on your platform that you already have?
Of course, you'd buy it for a PlayStation 5.
It depends on what kind of PC gamer you are. Like, if you were someone who loves Spider-Man, you'd already have a PS5 to play Spider-Man 2 because you would have gotten a PS4 to play Spider-Man 2018. So people who actually genuinely love a franchise, they would have already bought the system. Nobody is going to wait unless they genuinely, they're like, okay, I want to play this, but I don't want to play it enough to buy a PlayStation 5. Like, if you're genuinely invested and genuinely enthused, you're going to buy the platform. Again, I just think it's, I don't even understand why you would ask that question about Venom, because again, if you like Venom, chances are you like Spider-Man. Chances are you would have already played Spider-Man 2. Only way to play Spider-Man 2 is to have a PS5.
Yeah, I think it's a bad faith question, brother. I mean, like, the majority of Steam players don't even have a graphics card or a computer that's stronger than a PS5.
I agree, 100%.
So yeah, no brainer. Buy a PS5.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny, because I remember back when the systems were launching, and I did not get Miles Morales until I got a PS5, which was about maybe like a month later after launch, maybe 3 weeks after launch, that I got my PS5. But I refused to play it on PS4. Refused. Like, I was just like, no. They showed that game on the PS5. That's the way I want to play it. And then, like, Insomniac was coming out with like ray trace performance modes, and I was like, ain't no way.
How far apart was that?
Well, I still owned the PS4 at that time, but I mean that's
how far apart was it from when they announced it to when the PS5 came out?
Well, I mean, it was all like, there was no time whatsoever, because it was like at launch it was available on both platforms, and it only took, like I said, it only took me 3 weeks to get one, so I didn't wait that long to get my PS5 and then play it. But I think a little differently than what kind of the scenarios that we're talking about is, you have to balance how much you really want to play a game with, are you willing to wait? And I think we're all agreed universally on the panel, we're not willing to wait at all, really, for games that we want to play when the time frame is significant, like more than 3 months. I would say that's significant.
And it's set up that way so that it's outside of launch window. The majority of these sales happen during launch window, which is the first 3 months. You know that, Forte. You sell games. So if anybody who wants the game, they're gonna get it in that launch window.
Yeah.
It's like how I bought a PS5 for Demon Souls. I wasn't waiting for anything. I was like, yeah, let me go ahead. I'll buy this PS5 day one, and I'm gonna play me some Demon Souls. And I did, and I got the platinum. Like, if you are genuinely invested in a franchise or you love an IP, you're gonna shell out the cash. You're gonna do what you got to do in order to play that game. If you're someone who actually cares about gaming like that. If you're a casual, maybe less so, but I don't know. Even casuals, if they really like something, they'll buy.
Well, those are the people that I'm talking about, because I know what we'll do. Like, I literally bought a PS5 for God of War, and I knew that game when they announced it, saying, 2021. No, actually, when they announced it, it had 2020. It was 2020, and I was like, that game's not coming out that year. And then they said 2021. I said, it's still not coming out that year. But I bought my PS5 day one, knowing that for me, the game I wanted wasn't coming out for 2 years. It was just mostly due to the fact that I know it was going to be hard to find a system. So I just went ahead and got it, out of the way at the beginning, because I had the money to do it. But I think
that's very different than, say, what if you knew that God of War Ragnarok was coming out day and date with PC and PlayStation 5 at launch?
I wouldn't have bought a PS5.
Right. And that's honestly the reason why they stagger it. It's partially that, and it's also partially that their development, and maybe Dai can correct me if I'm wrong, their development pipeline's a bit different. And it's very, I think it seems to be more like the way Rockstar does things. Like, there was a Rockstar developer recently, I think it may have been just last week, who came out and explained why GTA 6 isn't launching on PC at launch with the consoles. And that's because he said, look, we have a PC build that's in development. We use that to kind of like as a jumping off point for our other builds for PlayStation and Xbox, but it's very rough, it's very buggy, and we could clean that up and get it ready for launch, but that would slow down our progress in optimizing the game and getting the game ready for the console. So instead, we do it on the consoles first, and then a year later, after that, we're working on the PC build to get that ready, and then we launch that a year later. And I think that's now that PlayStation is transitioning to their ecosystem isn't just PlayStation, but PlayStation and PC, that they're adopting more of what Rockstar does versus what Xbox does, where that those builds are all being developed together with the intention of all launching together day one on all platforms. Am I right? Wrong? Kind of close? Die?
I'm sorry. Repeat that last section just one more time.
Oh, just that for Xbox, you guys are building a game all together with on PC and Xbox Series X and Series S with the intention that it's all launching all together. So you're building all your different builds are all remaining. You're steadily hitting benchmarks to make sure that you reach launch together, and that those all platforms are supported day one versus PlayStation, where they're going to focus on the PlayStation version first and then they'll do the PC version later.
Yes, yeah, that's just the difference of business models between the two companies.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's about it, really. Nothing else to really talk about. Anything else you guys want to discuss before we get out of here?
No, this is pretty succinct, honestly. Yeah, it's what a day, right?
Yes, this week has been fascinating already. It's just Tuesday, you know. It's been a pretty wild week. Luca, anything you wanted to say before we get out of here? Any more slander you want to heap on me before we go? No? Okay, good. I don't even know if she's there. I'm just gonna take it as her silence as now she's good. Forza, anything else you want to say?
It's true, bud.
It's not anyway, go ahead.
I think the only thing I want to say is none of these companies none of these companies can keep secrets. All of these companies are all about getting your money. Doesn't matter who they are. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, all of them. The biggest thing is don't what's the way I want to say, because I don't want to be an ass when I say it. But the biggest thing is just buy games and enjoy the games that you're playing. Don't care about all this extra stuff, because ultimately, I tell people all the time, don't try to count the money of other people. Count the money that's in your pocket and play the games that you want to play. And if these games that they got leaked out, because I'm excited for a lot of the stuff that they got leaked out, and I'm like, yo, this is actually going to be really fire. Under the circumstances how it came out sucks, but you know, do I care that PlayStation spending all this money on all these games and that it looks kind of dire and how they're going to be able to support this long term? Not really. As long as they keep releasing them, I'm gonna keep playing them, and I think that's what we kind of need to just be focused on and enjoy the games as they're coming, because who knows what the future is going to be for any of these platforms. They are heading in two different directions. Xbox is trying to do smaller things, some bigger things, but mostly smaller things. And PlayStation is going back to the bigger budget stuff that they've been doing ever since like PlayStation 3. And I'm good with that. I already said PlayStation needs to have their own identity, and that is a great thing for them. And if their identity is AAA high-polished games with story element driven and stuff like that, I'm good with it. And that's what I want from them. And then everybody else can give me what they want. I think everybody has a place, and that's great. But ultimately, just enjoy the games as they come out, because we don't know how long we're going to keep getting games like this.
Cool. We're gonna start getting up out of here. I want you guys to plug your various platforms or whatever. Agent Deli, appreciate you jumping in, sir. I see. Yeah, I forget that, like, you know, you told me Mondays and Tuesdays are like times for you. So I'm glad you've been able to join us and provide your insight. Let everyone know where to find you, man.
I'm actually not here right now. I'm at work. So
are you? You're not at home?
Yeah, I'm home, but I'm on the clock.
Oh, you're on the clock.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No plugs for me, buddy. I'm on the clock.
But just I'm here.
I'm here just to hang out. I'm waiting.
So basically, you're doing what SloMo does: work from home all the time.
Yeah, I am. I'm only in the office like once a month.
Oh yeah, I may go in the office like 5 times a year, if that.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit more.
I always tell people if I'm in the office, something bad happened.
Yeah, for the most part too. Because I used to go in the office to configure networking equipment like routers and switches whenever we needed stuff done. So I used to go in more frequently. But now that I got somebody that's trained up to do that for me, if I have to go into the office, it definitely is a disaster happening. So yeah, I feel you on that.
If I lived closer, I'd be there I'd be there just for fun. But yeah, no, they don't want me there. As soon as they see me there, that they're not happy.
Yeah. Okay, so no plugs for H
No
Deli
plugs today.
And today, Luca, you have a show on Saturdays, I think. Is that right? Is that correct?
Do I?
I don't know. Do you?
I do not know. Sometimes I wake up every Saturday. I'm just like, damn, is there something I'm supposed to be doing today? So, not sure about any of that. But you guys can follow me on Twitter at the Ashen Luca if you want to see me. Well, I don't really argue with people too much anymore, so I don't know. No, I'm just chilling.
Growth. It's been
yeah,
growth.
It's growth.
Yeah. But no, even though she ain't plugging it, Scum on 1 / Scumcast. I don't know what you call it now. Even though I'm there like almost every Saturday, but the Ashen Luca YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central. And it's a good time. We talk about games and real life ish. So come through if you haven't checked it out before. I think the majority of the people that watch Lunchtime with SloMo know about your show, but just in case they don't, wanted to make sure that you got that plug. Are you doing the show this weekend? Probably not, right? Or I don't know.
I mean, if you guys want to show up, then yeah.
To be determined.
If you guys are free, then I'll do a show because it's not like I'm doing anything.
I say, we could talk about how Jonathan Majors got let go from Disney, and that happened 6 months ago because that press release happened before the man got out the courthouse.
I think it was like, yeah, that's something to discuss.
The courthouse, it was already drafted.
And for me and Forte, Forte, you could, if you want to plug your channel as well. I was going to plug at DPS.
You do a great job at doing it, but Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation, DPS going to be lit this week. We're going to have, trust me, there's going to be more stuff because those leaks are massive. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more stuff that we find out over the course of the next 24 hours. And
I guarantee it will be.
Guess what? We are
every 5 minutes I see something new.
Yep. Right. We're going to talk about it this week. And we're going to have fun with it. So, guys, enjoy your week. Enjoy the games you're playing as usual. Deli, I love you. Luca, you're amazing. I love you too.
Love you too, buddy.
SloMo, great show. And I will talk to you guys later.
Yep. As Forte said, Damage Per Second podcast. It will be on the DPS channel and my channel this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to discuss everything that we've, briefly, in more probably cut down terms of what we discussed today, and then everything else that will have actually been revealed from this leak from now until Thursday, and anything other tomfoolery that occurs in this gaming community, gaming industry. Until then, as well as some games that, we playing, because we actually play games around here. Shocker, right? But yeah, come through on Thursday if you're free. And I appreciate everyone who showed up in the chat today, as well as the cool panel that we have with Forte, Luca, and Dai. So we're going to get up out of here. Some of us going to get back to work. Some of us is just going to do stuff. Yeah. Anyway, we're out. Peace.
Peace.